Hello there everybody. In this video I'm going to be giving you a quick rundown between the three most recent Ying cubes. So this is the MeiYing LiYing. This came out before Kong's design sort of became a brand in and of itself, but it's by the same designer. This is the second cube in the Ying series. A quick note, the YueYing, which is the first cube, won't be featured in this video because I would say that it's not really in the same league as the rest of these three, but these three are all good. I just want to give you a quick rundown of the differences between them. It's kind of like a mini review of all of them, comparison, and hopefully it'll be useful if you're considering any one of these three. So let's start with the first cube. That's this one, which is the MeiYing LiYing. This is about 1.5 years old now, I think. It corner cuts well. And after some breaking in, is a very good cube. With lubricating, tensioning and breaking in, it's a very good cube. It is probably slightly underrated, I would say, compared to, say, an LiYing, but I wouldn't say it's worse than an LiYing, it just feels different. So that's the first cube. The second cube we'll be taking a look at is this, the Kong's design YueYing, which came out quite recently. Some people have been calling this an updated version of the LiYing. These kind of all share a lot of characteristics, so I wouldn't say this, whilst it is similar, it's not necessarily like a LiYing version 2. It's just an evolution of the same thing. It shares characteristics with the YueYing and with the MeiYing, which follows it as well, so that it's definitely a family. And the final cube we're taking a look at is this, which is very new, which is the Kong's design MeiYing cube. So starting out, let's take a look at the size, and there's very little between them. The LiYing is listed, all of these are listed as being 56mm. However, the LiYing feels fractionally, like less than a millimetre smaller than the other two. I don't know whether that's just because I changed the stickers or what, but I would say that the LiYing is fractionally smaller. They're 56 or between 56 and 57mm, but they are slightly on the small side, but if that matters to you, that's just something to consider. In terms of speed, the LiYing is the middle one of the three. Having broken it in is kind of not a very fair comparison because I've had this and broken it in for longer, but I would say that's the medium paced one of the three. It's not slow at all, it moves quite well, it's very controllable. Next is the YueYing, which was quite slow out of the box, but with some breaking in, lubricating and tensioning, it's perfectly fast. You know, it's again, it's a medium pace. I would say this is medium fast. And then let's get to this one, which is very fast out of the box. This cube was too fast for me out of the box, especially the M slices where I was overshooting quite a lot, and it takes very little force at all to turn that one. In terms of the feel, this one feels quite clacky. You can feel some clicking, some internal pieces very much hitting each other rather than rubbing alongside each other. They're hitting each other on the turn, so it's not smooth, the LiYing, but it is perfectly, it's not catchy really, having broken it in, so it's a very clicky cube. It's also, I mean, it's quite loud. It's not like Shangsha Aurora by any means. It's quite level of quietness, it's fairly loud. And next we have the YueYing, okay, which again is slightly quieter than the LiYing, but it's not very quiet either. And then the feel is smoother than the LiYing. It is, you can feel some pieces hitting each other, but it's kind of like there's less pieces hitting each other, less contact points throughout, and there is more smoothness in the turn. So it's kind of less distracting and less noticeable, but it is definitely still there. It's not a smooth cube, it is a clicky cube, but it's not a clacky cube, if you kind of get what I mean. There's less points where the pieces seem to be hitting into one another. And then finally there's this one, which mainly because of it being so fast and light, it's a very light turning cube. It's got kind of the same number of contact points on a turn as the LiYing, but it's softer. It feels softer, like there's less impact, but there's still more impact points. So this is the lightest of the three. This MeiYing is the lightest of the three. These two are pretty much the same weight. I would say this one takes slightly less effort to turn than this one, but there's not very much between the two of them there. The feeling of this one is very subdued. It's kind of like if you took a LiYing and then turn the volume down, I suppose, on the clickiness. That's what you get with this. Now, in terms of corner cutting, all of these cubes can corner cut 45, no difficulty at all. I would say that the corner cutting on all of them is fairly similar. Now, the LiYing, probably because it's most broken in, can do just over 45 on all sides, as can the YueYing, because I think probably the YueYing and the MeiYing will end up being better than the LiYing in terms of corner cutting. But out of the box, or when they're fairly new, again, this one only does 45 at the moment, sometimes just over on some sides, and then this one can do just over 45 on all sides, although there it seems to be locking up. Yeah, so standard, fairly similar across the board. There's not a lot in it. In terms of how easy it is, normally you're cutting about that far, so let's do line to line. That's about the most you cut, and that's completely effortless. With the YueYing, again, completely effortless. Slightly easier, in fact, on this than on the MeiYing, and on this one, again, effortless. You kind of notice it more. There's more of a snap with the LiYing than there is with these two. In terms of reverse corner cutting, the LiYing can do half a piece, 2/3 of a piece, but you really notice if you do 2/3 of a piece the snap. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's very noticeable with the snap. It's not like it takes a huge amount of force, but it's there. With the YueYing, it can do over 2/3, just over 2/3. And this takes fractionally less force than with the LiYing. And then finally the MeiYing can do, again, same as the YueYing, just over 2/3 of a piece. And this one feels the most effortless on the reverse corner cuts. In terms of corner twisting, none of these really corner twist. I don't have them. I think the one you're most likely to get a corner twist on is this, which is the LiYing. This YueYing doesn't corner twist at all. I've never had one on either of these two cubes. I think I did when I loosened the tensions on the LiYing at one point in the early days, but not really. But these ones, it's very hard to turn a corner. So that is something they've improved. If you take a look at the mechanism, you'll notice that the pieces here are fairly square, but they're not nearly as square. Given that we've been moving towards rounded pieces, the pieces on the MeiYing, which is the newest cube, are significantly more square than on the first of the three, which is the LiYing. And then again, also on the YueYing, the pieces are more square. The corner pieces are more square than the LiYing, which does help with the corner twisting. I've not experienced a pop on any of these cubes on any reasonable tension. It just doesn't happen, with one exception. So the YueYing, the caps on the corners come off, and they come off really easily. So if I turn, I don't know, there you go. So I turned fairly reasonably, I would say, there, but off comes the cap, and very often they will just pop off. So if you do get this one, you do need to glue them down, which I haven't done just for the yet, but I will do now. I just didn't do it for the purpose of this demonstration because I knew it would fall off when I did that. Okay, so let's take a look at the internals. I just take them apart. Okay, so now that they're apart, let's take a look at the internals. So first off, we'll do the LiYing. You'll see this is a fairly standard, it's kind of, if you put it that way, it looks square, like that, square, and it has got one track, whereas both of the edge pieces for I don't know which way I picked them up, yeah, both the edge pieces for the YueYing, which is this one, and for the MeiYing are almost identical, or pretty much identical. And for this reason, because the edge pieces are identical and the center pieces are identical, you can swap the corners of the YueYing and the MeiYing over and make a different cube that's sort of halfway between the two, which is interesting. But yet from that side they are the same. I don't know how well you can see. Sorry, let me grab that. So, okay, the difference here is that the track on this side is just slightly bigger on this cube, and the other thing is that this cube goes slightly deeper into the YueYing. The YueYing's edge pieces go slightly deeper, which just means that there's more surface area of all the pieces, because obviously the corner piece goes along that track there. So the edge and the corner is fractionally, it's less than a millimetre, just longer. Moving on to the corner pieces, you'll see the real evolution of the design here. So here we have, it's a fairly standard, straight looking, nothing special on this corner, with the exception of these cuts here. Now these cuts are all the way down to the base here, on the LiYing. On the YueYing, that cut is only just at the top of the corner piece, but otherwise they look pretty similar. The difference being that the caps are slightly different between these two, and this one goes, the YueYing goes further into the cube, as I said, than the LiYing, which is quite a shallow cube. Let's compare these two. So the evolution of the design here, we see that the cut goes further, it's got more width to it, and also the indentation here, this diamond shape on all the sides, which makes this MeiYing even quicker. But the holes here are bigger than the YueYing, but squarer. You see these are long all the way from top to bottom on the LiYing. Okay, some final thoughts in terms of how well these cubes hold together. So I personally don't like it when my finger gets caught in between edge pieces and corner pieces, which is a bit of a trend, started with the LiYing version 1 really. Now with the LiYing it doesn't really happen, and I can safely say that it doesn't really happen with the YueYing either. That sort of, it holds tighter, but with the MeiYing I find myself catching in between the edge and the corner piece quite often, just because the corners feel looser. You can see as I pull it out there, it just feels looser. But that's really a minor detail. There's not a huge amount between them, but if you really hate getting your finger caught between pieces, just catching it slightly in a sort of then the MeiYing is the one that's going to happen with, and not so much with the other two. The LiYing is still a good cube. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not a good cube. I can get as good times with this cube as I can with the other two. It makes no difference in terms of my times. But I would say that it's probably this closer to the start of the idea than the evolution. These two are kind of the evolution. What you've got with this is the middle way, and these are two branches off of this one. So if you like this one, you kind of got two choices. If you like it for the feel and the stability, the way it holds together, and this, if those are the sort of things you like, then your best bet is to go with this, the YueYing. If you want a cube like this, but this significantly lighter to turn, significantly faster to turn, but it doesn't hold together quite the same, then your best bet is to go for the MeiYing. But they are very much a family of cubes. There is quite a lot of similarities between them. It basically comes down to whether you want speed on the one hand or stability. Not that this is going to pop on you, but you know, stability in terms of you're not going to get your fingers caught. It holds together better. It feels slightly smoother, that sort of thing. Whereas this one feels slightly less stable in terms of how it moves around. So if you want stability but slightly slower, you go with the YueYing. If you want faster, slightly less stable, you want to go with the MeiYing. If you're happy with the LiYing, I wouldn't say these are a major upgrade. They're a very, very minor upgrade, but you might want to consider getting them. Okay, so hopefully you found this overview, review, whatever you want to call it, useful. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button, and thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Goodbye.